Begin with yesterday we saw the Shulchan Aruch about what we've been learning with regard to the reading of the Torah, and we had seen the three opinions. We have Rashi's opinion, we have Tosfos's opinion, and then we had the Rosh and the Rif's opinion. And the Rashi's opinion was that on the third day of Sukkot, which is the first day of Chol Hamoed Sukkot, when it's outside of Israel, what do you read in the Torah that day? And really, the question also is what the Gemara's discussion is: what do you include in the Musaf when you talk about the sacrifices? How many sacrifices was it? But in addition to that, Rashi brings out this idea about the reading of the Torah. Tosfos also talks about the reading of the Torah. And then when it comes to the Rosh and the Rif also discuss the Torah reading. They don't bring it here in Tractate Sukkah. They bring it in Tractate Megillah, the Rosh and the Rif. But the conclusion that each of them come to is different. Each one has their own conclusion. How do you read the Torah outside of Israel on the third day of Sukkot, on the first day of Chol Hamoed Sukkot, of the intermediate days of Sukkot? What do you read? So according to Rashi, there's four. According to everyone, there's four aliyahs. The Gemara, the Mishnah Megillah, we know there's four aliyahs. There's four people that get called up to the Torah. So there's four sections. So what do you read on each of those four sections? So Rashi holds the first section you read the second day of Sukkot sacrifices. The second day of Sukkot sacrifices. One second. The second day of Sukkot, you read the third day of Sukkot sacrifices. Why? Well, it's the second day of Sukkot. When it's the third day here outside of Israel, it's always questionable if maybe it's considered the second day. So you would read the second day. It's for sure the third day, so you read the third day. The third person called up to the Torah reads the fourth day just because we need an additional reading, so why not just read tomorrow's? And then the final aliyah, which Rashi holds is the most important one, is the aliyah where you include day 2 and day 3 in it. So you go back, you do 2, 3, 4, and then you go back to 2 and 3. Why do you go back to 2 and 3? Because this day, that's the third day of Sukkot, it's outside of Israel, is called third day, but maybe second day. That's what we consider it. We call it the third day and possibly the second day. So because it has that two rules on it, it's called third and it's also considered maybe the second. So we therefore read on the final aliyah, according to Rashi, the final aliyah, you read day 2 and day 3. That is Rashi's opinion. Tosfos held that the last aliyah, he had a problem. How can you read the fourth aliyah on the third? How can you read day 4 when it's not day 4? And he had also a problem that the first aliyah seems to be the most important, not the last aliyah. And he said, therefore, all the aliyahs are 2 and 3. How do you do 2 and 3 for all the aliyahs? The first aliyah is 2. Second aliyah is 3. The third aliyah is 2. The fourth aliyah is 3, meaning you go back, you do 2 and 3, and then you do it again, 2 and 3. And that's the way Tosfos holds. And it is interesting that Tosfos doesn't say to do 2 and 3 in the first aliyah if Tosfos holds that the first aliyah is the most important. It could be that he doesn't hold the first one is the most important, but the first few are the most important. Maybe that's what he's arguing on Rashi. It's not so clear what he means. But I would not have been surprised if Tosfos would have held 2 and 3 for the first aliyah. But he doesn't say that. He says 2 for the first aliyah, 3 for the second aliyah, and then again for the third aliyah, 2, and again for the fourth aliyah, 3. So that's the way he holds. Now, the Rif and the Rosh in Tractate Megillah, they bring down that a third option, and that is that the first aliyah you read day 2, the second aliyah you read day 3. The third aliyah, you repeat day 3. And the fourth aliyah, you do 2 and 3. So according to the Rif and the Rosh, the benefit they have over Rashi is that you're not doing an aliyah that's not applicable. In other words, the aliyah of the fourth day that Rashi says, they remove that. They don't have that option. And the reason that they benefit from not doing the fourth aliyah, not doing the fourth, the reading for the fourth day is, number one, it's not connected to today at all. And number two, when it comes to the Hoshana Rabbah, you're not going to come into a issue of having to change the symmetry of how you've been doing it until now. You don't have to change the rules. No, on the seventh day, it's going to be the same as as you did on the sixth day, and the same as on the fifth day. The whole style is going to stay the same. And according to Rashi, you have to change the style. So they didn't like that. In other words, according to Rashi, every day seemed very nice until you came to the seventh day. Then you got to switch things around. Why? Because on the seventh day, you can't do 6, 7, and 8 because 8 is another holiday. So you got to do 5, 6, 7. Well, that's not the way we were doing it all along. Going 2 days back, 1 day back, and then today. That's not the way you did it yesterday or the day before. And therefore, according to the Rif and the Rush, you benefit not having that issue. And of course, Taisus as well. Taisus's whole purpose is not to get around that problem as well. So ultimately, we have these three opinions. And now comes the Shulchan Aruch. And again, this is dealing with, this is applicable for reading the Torah. Now, when it comes to the actual recital in the Musaf prayers, which sacrifice are you bringing? So for the prayers of Musaf, the conclusion of our Gemara was, at least the third opinion in our Gemara was, Ameimar says, you got to do Medaleg Deluge. You go back and do 2 and 3, which basically means that you recite the prayers for 2 for the second day of Sukkot, even though it's the third day now, but it's a suffix, it's a doubt that might be the second day. So we say prayers for 2, day 2, and then you say the prayers for day 3. Now, it is interesting, I should just mention that there's also the libations that we read about. Now, the libations, hold them right? You say that. Do you say that once or twice? We say that after every paragraph. So believe it or not, almost all the Sidurim have it that you say it twice. You say it after the first paragraph for the second day. If it's a second day, you also got to bring libations for that. For those sacrifices, and then you read the third day sacrifices, then you read the libations for the third day. So you read them in a chasam and a scam twice. However, I should mention that I remember years ago, there used to be something called the Birnbaum Siddur. And the Birnbaum Siddur, I remember my father would go around on that day of Sukkah, on the intermediate days of Sukkah or whatever, and show people, there's a mistake here. You're supposed to say Yom Chasam twice. And the Birnbaum left it out. It only has it once. But the common opinion of the Achronim is that you're supposed to say it in between. You're supposed to say it after each of those paragraphs. You say Yom Chasam and Eskeim. That's the common, from what I've seen in Sidurim. That is the common opinion. I did find one opinion that actually argues and does say that the Birnbaum is okay. But I don't think that's the accepted view. I think everyone does it when chasam and eskem, except Svardim, who maybe leave out the paragraphs about the sacrifices completely. But once you're saying the paragraphs of the sacrifices, you're also supposed to say the when chasam and eskehem, and you're supposed to really say it at each paragraph. Min chasam and eskehem, the libations for that day, in the libations for this day. So you're saying 2 days. You're saying day 2 and day 3. Say Yom Chasam twice. Yes, Jeffrey.
But the fact that that paragraph is a summary, it covers all of the differences between the different days, because it doesn't say. It
doesn't specify, right?
It says for each lamb, as many lambs as you have, you see. So it's a summary. So clearly somebody decided to make it simpler along the way. But I don't think there's right and wrong in any of these things. I can show you 3, 4 other different things. Every Siddur is different. And even in the Shmones, right? And yesterday we talked about Shabbos and Yom Tov, and This is what we do on Shabbos and Yom Tov. First, we read the Shabbos sacrifice, and then some of the Sidurim say this is today's korban, and the rest of the korban is as follows. And then they read the holiday korban, and then in all of the books, after all of those, we say Yismachu.
Right. Right.
Okay. Once again, you could see that there's a certain.
Did anyone have Shabbos after? Did anyone say the sacrifices of Shabbos after the Yom Tov?
No.
It's all okay. So fine. That's what we.
Right.
That's what we thought.
But we enclose the Yom Tov in the two pieces about Shabbos. In this respect, so it's also kind of.
You mean because Yismachu? You want to say Yismachu is really a Shabbos, but that's not a sacrifice. Yismachu. That's just a part of the Shemona Esrei of Shabbos, but it's not a sacrifice. Yeah.
But it's put in at that position.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, in the Shabbos, okay. I mean, right. That's
so it's very interesting to me because I think that somebody wanted to frame it. Sometimes I think they decided on a sort of like a literary way, like a chapter way. Okay, now this is a little book, and this is a chapter, and this is a chapter, and this is how we close the pieces. And they kept that in mind. And if you made a mistake, at least you said the Shabbos one because you knew that one by heart.
Okay, I mean, I'm not really following exactly what. So I don't know why we're bringing in Shabbos. Actually, what? I mean, you're mentioning that there's different nuschos, a few different things, but did you find anyone that has minchasam only once?
Sure.
Which Sidurim have it only once?
So I don't think that I could pick out every Sidur is different. So you have a large amount of varieties. But here I have an old-fashioned Sidur here. Let me see what they have. Because we studied it in school. We studied with a Sidur that had very big print. Easier for the kids to study. So they needed even more room. So it lists all of the for each day of Sukkot it has uminchasam.
Okay, so it has a minchasam each time. It has it after
yes, but only printed once. So you have to notice that after the second the day it has just the word uminchasam.
Okay, but that's good enough. That's good. All right, yeah. That's what I was assuming. Okay. Anyway, so I wanted to do just go over the Shulchan Aruch. So again, we're in chapter 663, where it talks about the Tefillah Chol HaMoyed, the Tefillas Chol HaMoyed, the prayers of Chol HaMoyed in the Shemona Esrei, and in the reading of the Torah. So it says on Chol HaMoyed, you bring out a Sefer Torah and you read four people are called up. And you read about the karbanos, the sacrifices of the holiday in from Parshas Pinchas. On the first day of Chol HaMoyed, which means the third day of Sukkot, the Kohen reads B'yom Hasheni, the Levi reads B'yom Hashlishi, the Yisrael, the third Aliyah, reads B'yom Hashlishi again, and the fourth Aliyah reads the Sveika D'Yoma, which means B'yom Hasheni and B'yom Hashlishi, reads the set 2 and 3, day 2 and day 3. So this is exactly like the Rush and the Rif in Tractate Megillah say to do it, not like Rashi and not like Tosfos. This is doing 2, 3, 3, 2, 3. Okay, so you have 4 Aliyahs. First Aliyah you do day 2, even though it's really the third day of Sukkot, but it's a suffix if it's day 2. So you do first Aliyah is 2. Second Aliyah is 3, third Aliyah is again 3, and fourth Aliyah is 2, 3. And Ba'al Derech Zeh Korin B'Shar Yomim, this is how you do it all the other days. Comes along the Ramah, and he says, and some say that the first 2, you read Besfeika D'Yoma, mean 2 and 3, which basically is the same. But the third one, you read Yom HaMacharas, the next day. Who does this like? This is Rashi's opinion. The Ramah is following Rashi. And then the fourth aliyah is Chayzer V'Kairei, goes back and reads the whole Sveika D'Yoma, which means the day 2 and day 3. And so we do all, this is how our minhag is, meaning the Ashkenazic minhag is to follow Rashi. Now on the 7th day, you have to change things around to drop, because you can't do 6, 7, and 8, because 8 is a different holiday. So on the 7th day, the Kohen reads the 5th, it's 5, 6, 7 instead of 6, 7, 8. So you switch it around, you go 2 days back. The Kohen reads day 5. The Levi reads day 6. The Yisrael reads day 7. And the fourth aliyah, the final aliyah, he reads 6 and 7, which is the Sveika D'Yoma, the doubt of that day, of the 7th day. It's either the 7th day or possibly it's the 6th. And b'chein anu nayagim, and so are we nayag. And this is Rashi b'shem Rabboisav. This is Rashi in the name of his teachers. And in Eretz Yisrael, that there is no Sveika D'Yoma, ein karin b'chol yoim ela karban hayoim belvad. So the Mechaber, the Rabbi Yosef Cairo, then says, what about in Israel? What do you do in Israel on each of these days of Sukkot, of Chol HaMoed? What do you read? Let's say it's the same day, the third day of Sukkot. So what do you read in Israel? So obviously you read day 3, but how many times can you read day 3? It's it's only like 3 psukim. You can't get even 2 aliyahs out of it. So you have 4 aliyahs to give, and you have 1 obligatory paragraph. So how do you make 4? So it says in Eretz Yisrael there's no Sveika D'Yoma. All you read is that day's korban, and you just repeat it 4 times. And this is how you do it each of the days. So in Eretz Yisrael, it really applies even to the 2nd day of Sukkot as well. Outside of Israel, the 2nd day of Sukkot, we are considering it a holiday here. So we don't have these 4 aliyahs. We have 5 aliyahs, or if it's Shabbos, it's 7 aliyahs. But we read the special holiday laning. But in Eretz Yisrael, it's the intermediate days already on the 2nd day of Sukkot, and so you're already dealing with reading the same paragraph B'yom Hasheni 4 times. The next day you read B'yom Hashlishi 4 times, and that's the way the Mechaber paskins. And I don't see any other opinion here. So it sounds like that's what they do in Israel. I don't recall, and I did ask if anyone here might know, but doesn't seem like we have anyone in Israel to confirm that that's the way it's done. So that's the understanding here, and that's the Shulchan Aruch in the Rabbi Yosef Cairo. The Alter Rebbe does not have chapter 663, so I couldn't really search it in the Alter Rebbe, but that's the conclusion here. That basically concludes this Gemara. We are now up to the Mishnah on page 55b, and top of the page, the Mishnah is dealing with the sacrifices of the holiday. We already started this Mishnah really, but I'm going to start again. Top of page 55b. Yom Tov Harishon Shel Chag, the first day of Sukkot, Hayu Sham Shloisha Asa Parim, there were 13 bulls, Elim Shnayim, 2 rams, the Sa'ir Echad, and 1 Sa'ir, 1 he-goat. And the he-goat is a chatos sacrifice, it's a sin offering. The others are burnt offerings. So we've got how many sacrifices altogether? We've got 13 bulls, 2 rams, and 1 he-goat. So that's 16 sacrifices. How many mishmaros do we have? How many groups of kayanim were there to bring these sacrifices? How many groups were there? We know during the year only 1 group works each week. Each group gets a week of their own. They're the sort of like what you would call the monopoly. They own all the sacrifices that come in that week, and the thing is that on holidays, everyone has full access. Everyone gets full access. All of the Kohanim can help out with the sacrifices. So they're all there. And these are holiday sacrifices. These are not the regular daily or weekly sacrifices. These are the holiday sacrifices. So everyone is eligible to participate. Now, keep in mind, I'm sure there's a spiritual reason as well for this, but practically everyone wanted to bring a par, all these families of all these groups. Why? They want to bring a bull. The skin of the bull was very valuable. It's big. It's I guess it was more, I don't know this field, but supposedly it was something that, so they wanted to divide it evenly. Everyone should get from these, from the bulls. They shouldn't make it unfair. So because of that, we'll see how they made sure that every family of the 24 Kohen families, that was divided into 24 groups. So every group should be able to get one of these sacrifices. And specifically the bulls, they made sure, we'll soon see how they were even more careful with the bulls to give them. Now, so let's just think about the calculation of day one. Day one had 16 animals, 13 bulls. You have the 2 rams, the 1 he-goat. You got 16 animals there, and we got 24 groups that you have to divide these up. So how do you divide it up? You don't. You give 16 of the groups, you give them one of these sacrifices. They're happy. Now we got 8 groups left that didn't get nothing. So what are we giving them? So the thing is, there's still some more sacrifices. The sheep, we didn't talk about the sheep. The sheep, there are 14 sheep every single day of Sukkot. 14 sheep. So those 14 sheep are going to be brought by the final 8 groups that didn't get anything yet. So the 8 groups that didn't get any animal yet, they are going to get these 14 sheep. How do you give 14 sheep to 8 groups? If you have 14 groups, that would be easy, but you have 8 groups. So the Mishnah says how you divide it up. You got to divide it that some of them get 2 and some of them get 1. So you have 14 sheep left over. They're also burnt offerings. That these 14 sheep are going to be divided for the, or you have 14 sheep for these 8 mishmaros. Literally, it means watches, which means groups that were meant to watch in the Beis Hamikdash. So these 8 groups get 14 sheep. So the Mishnah explains, B'yom Rishon, on the first day of Sukkot, Shisha, 6 of these groups, 6 of the 8, Makriven Shnayim get 2 sheep. They get to bring 2 of the sheep. Vasha'ar, and the rest, meaning the other 2 groups, that didn't bring anything yet, they bring 1 sheep each. Vasha'ar echad, they get 1 each. And that's how you divide up all the sacrifices. So there was 30 sacrifices altogether, the 16 plus 14, and there are 24 groups. So it comes out that there was really an extra 6. So 6 of them end up doubling up, getting 2 sheep. Okay, B'yom Sheni, on the second day, how many groups did you have left over that didn't get from the first group, from the first sacrifices besides the sheep? So you have left over 9. Why do you have left over 9? The first day only you had left over 8 groups that didn't get. Now you have 9 groups that didn't get anything. Why are there 9 groups that didn't get anything? Because the bulls keep diminishing one. We keep losing 1 bull every day. You bring 1 bull less. So the first day of Sukkot is 13 bulls. The second day of Sukkot is 12 bulls, and the third day of Sukkot is 11 bulls. Each day you get 1 less. So therefore, there's 1 more group that's missing a sacrifice. So on the second day of Sukkot, it's Chamisha Makriven Shnayim. You have 5 that bring. They get to bring 2 sheep, and Vasha'ar, and the extra The extras are echad echad, bring one each. So from the 9 groups that didn't get anything to bring, so 5 of them get to bring 2 each, and then you have 4 that bring 1 each. So that's how you have 14. Now, b'yom shlishi, on the 3rd day, and on the 3rd day, you have 10 groups that didn't bring anything because the first 14 groups had a sacrifice to bring besides for the sheep. There were 14 animals that were brought first, and they were or 14 animals that were brought that you gave them to each of the groups. And now we got 10 groups left because there's 24 groups, so 10 left that have the final 14 sheep to bring. So what do you do with the final 14 sheep? And there's 10 groups that need them. So arba makriven shnayim. So 4 of them get to bring 2, and vashar, and the others, the remaining groups, the remaining 6 groups that didn't get any animals to bring, they get to bring echad, 1 sheep each. B'yom Revi, on the 4th day of Sukkot. So here you have 11 groups that didn't get anything to sacrifice, and you got 14 sheep to give to these 11. So what do? So it says shloisha, 3 of these groups, makriven shnayim, they get to bring 2 sheep, and the rest, vashar, the other 8, they bring echad, they bring 1 sheep each, and that covers the 14 sheep, and that means everyone got a chance to bring something. Now comes the 5th day, b'chamishi, on the 5th day of Sukkot. What happens then? You have 12 groups that didn't get any animals to bring, besides for the sheep that are now available. So you got 14 sheep, and you got 12 groups that didn't get any animals to bring. So these groups of Kayanim, they want to. So what happens? So Shnayim, 2 of the 12, Makriven Shnayim, they get to bring 2 sheep. Vashar, the other 10, Echad, they bring 1 sheep. Bishishi, on the 6th day, when you have 13 groups that didn't bring anything, you have 14 sheep to give them, and you have 13 groups. So B'yom Shishi, on the 6th day, Echad Makriv Shnayim, 1 of these groups gets the chance to bring 2 sheep. Vashar, the other 12, echad, they bring 1. And now on the 7th day of Sukkot, which is Hoshana Rabbah, on this day, Kulan Shavin, everyone is equal. Everyone got 1 animal to bring, and all the mishmaros that missed out, that didn't get the bull or the rams or the he-goat, they all are equal in how many sheep. They each get 1 sheep. There's 14 groups that didn't bring anything from the other sacrifice, and there are 14 sheep. So each one gets 1. Bishmine, what about the 8th day? The 8th day means Shmini Atzeres, which is in a certain sense a different holiday, but it's the 8th. It's still called the 8th day of Sukkot. It's called Shmini Atzeres. So there, Chazru Lapayas, they went back to, because you don't have anywhere near what you would need to give the groups. You don't have 24 animals. See, it turns out that even on the 7th day, when there's the least amount of bulls on Sukkot, how many animals altogether were brought? On the least amount of bull day, which would be Hoshana Rabbah, where you're all the way down to 7, but you actually end up with 7 plus 7 plus 3 plus 14. So 7 plus 3, because you have the 2 rams and you have 7 bulls, you have the 2 rams, and you have the he-goat. 7 plus 3 is 10, and plus 14 sheep, you have 24. So on the most complicated day to give the groups animals is the Shoshana Rabbah. We only have 24 animals, but guess what? You have 24 groups. Everyone gets 1. What about Shmini Atzeres? Shmini Atzeres, you have much less. Shmini Atzeres, all you have is one bull. You don't have 13 bulls. You don't have even 7 bulls. You have one bull, one ram. Again, it's a one less ram, it's many less bulls. And Shiva Kavasim, you have 7 sheep and 1 he-goat. So you got a lot less bulls, a lot less sheep. You got a less ram, one ram less, and so you're really far down. So how do you divide up this small amount of animals for your 24 groups of kayanim? So the thing is, you do some type of a goyro, some type of a raffle, and kibbur like the other holidays. See, works great for Sukkot, but don't forget, there's also Shavuos and Pesach, where you also don't have all these bulls. So therefore, you would be doing on Shmini Atzeres similar to what you do on the other holidays that don't have all these bulls, and you're limited with how many sacrifices you have. You would basically make a raffle. Amru, they said, Mi shehikrav parim hayoim, whoever would bring bulls this day, lo yakriv lemachar, should not bring bulls the next day. Ela chayzrin chalila, rather you would go back in the order and give everyone a chance, because there's 24 mishmaros in the 24 groups, and there's only 13 bulls. So the first day, you give it to the first 13 groups. That's very nice. What about the second day? There's only 12 bulls. So you give it to the groups that didn't get. Don't let the ones who you gave it to on the first day get again when there's others that didn't get, because as I mentioned earlier, the Purim seemed to be, and I believe there's probably a spiritual reason as well. Maybe they wanted some connection to the spiritual concept of getting rid of all the enemies of the Jewish people. Maybe, I'm not sure what exactly it would be, the concept of participating in the bulls, but on a physical and materialistic sense, they all wanted the bulls. It seems that there was more value in the skin, in the hide of the bulls, and therefore we wanted to give each one a chance, each group to get a chance to bring the bull. So the groups who brought it on the first day, they were not supposed to bring it on the second day, like give the others a chance. And then the ones who brought it on the second day didn't bring it on the third day. And the ones who brought it on the third day didn't bring it on the fourth day. And this way, you always were giving the next group a chance. So the way it worked was, day one, you had group 1 through 13 that got bulls. Day 2 had 14, number 14 of the groups got to, if you started from the 14th group, and there was an order of them. So from 14 through 24, they brought on the second day. Now, the truth is, there's 1 bull extra. So that 1 bull extra would actually go back to, we start over from the count from the beginning. And so, believe it or not, the first Mishmar, which their name was Yehoyariv, they actually got to bring 2 days in a row on the first day and the second day. Other than that, you never had 2 days in a row. They were one exception to this whole idea, because you had 1 extra animal. You have, if you add 13 and 12, you got 25 there. The first day is 13, the second day is 12. You have 25 bulls, and you only have 14 mishmaros. So therefore, there's a remainder. There's an extra bull between the first and second day. You have that extra bull. So therefore, on the second day, Yehoyariv, the first group, got to bring a second bull, which is not common, because it wasn't supposed to be that way. You're not supposed to bring, whoever brings a bull one day does not bring a bull the next day. Rather, you give it to the group that didn't bring. And then after that, it became much easier, because there's much less bulls to go around. On the third day, you didn't have any doubles. On the fourth day, no doubles. After that, it got less and less. And ultimately, what happened in the end? How many how many times, let's say, did these first 7 groups, maybe even more, the first if you calculate it, it comes out that even the groups that didn't get to bring until the second day, ultimately everyone brought about 3 bulls, because if you add them all up together, there's 70. And it comes out that from 24 into 70, it would, if there was 72, everyone would have had a chance to bring 3 bulls. But it comes out from 24 into, if you divide 70 by 24, you get close to 3. So it means that almost all of the groups got to bring 3 bulls throughout Sukkot. There's 2 groups that missed out. The 2 groups that missed out, the 2 final groups, would be the group number 23 and group number 24. They did not get to bring 3 bulls. They only got to bring 2 bulls over Sukkot. Why? Because you kept on going in order. The one who's last in line, there weren't enough to go around. So the 2 that were last in line did not get the final. They didn't get the final. They didn't get the 3rd bull to be able to participate in its bringing, because there was no more 3rd bulls. There was no more bulls for the final days of Sukkot. There were no extras. So so basically, almost every group got 3, except 2 of them only got 2. Okay, now comes the Gemara. The Gemara says, Nema Masnisin, let's say that our Mishnah, is Rebihi Veloy Rabbanon. It fits with Rebbe.
Yeah. Were any of these sacrifices eaten, or they were just burnt offerings?
Well, no, the sin offering was eaten, and the others were burnt offerings. So the I have a pasuk maybe of the. Let's take a look. The kraftem oila ishe rech nichech lashem parim nebakar shloisha aser, 13 bulls, elim shnoyim 2 rams, kvasam neshon arbasa tmimim, and the 14 sheep. They were burnt offerings. Sirizim echad lechatos, and there was one he goat that was a chatos. So yeah, that would be the only one. The others are kraftem oila. They were oilas. They were burnt offerings. Yeah. So the Gemara says, let's say that the Mishnah, name of Masnisin Rebbe, he Veloy Rabbanon. Let's say that the Mishnah follows Rebbe and not the Rabbanon, not the rabbis. The Tanya, because it was taught in a brisa, Par haba b'shmini betchila mefisin alav. The par, the bull that they bring on Shmini Atzeres, you initially do a raffle on it from the Metchila, from the beginning. And let me just pull up Rashi over here. Betchila Mefaisin Olav, Rashi says, Kol HaMishmarois Ki'ilu Hu Tchilas Korbanos. All the Mishmarois are part of this raffle. And V'loyam Rinon Likarvu Chad Mehanach Shaloi Shilshu. And we don't say that one of the 2 that didn't get to bring 3 bulls, they should be the one to bring the 8th day bull. They should be the one. So the Mishnah had said that you do a raffle for the 8th day. That's what our Mishnah said. On all the other days, we figured out how to give every group an animal to sacrifice. But on the 8th day, the Mishnah said there's a problem, and therefore you got to go back to the regular way that it was done on the other holidays, which is you do a pious, you do this type of raffle, a lottery. You draw a lot, and you give the winner the opportunity to bring that sacrifice, different avodas, different services with the sacrifice, and that's how they did. That's how they would normally do it. Now the Mishnah, our Mishnah says about this pious. So the Gemara says it seems like it's Rebbe Veloy Rabbanan. Why does it sound like it's Rebbe and not the Rabbanan? Because we have a brisa that Rebbe says that you make a raffle on the Shmini Atzeres. What do the rabbis say? So the rabbis, so this is Divrei Rebbe, this is Rebbe's opinion. Achas mishtei mishmaros delay shilshu b'parim oisa oisa. One of the two groups that didn't get to bring a bull a third time, in other words, the two groups that only got twice, they're the ones who get to bring on Shmini Atzeres. They're the ones who bring that bull, or one of those two. So according to Rebbe, you make a type of lottery. According to the rabbis, you don't make. At least the understanding seems to be you give it to one of those two that didn't get a chance. Now our Mishnah says make the lottery. So if the Mishnah is saying make a lottery, so then what that means is that's following Rebbe. Rebbe is the one who says you make a lottery. So the Gemara answers afilu tema. You could even say Rabbanan, that it fits with the rabbis. Do you think when it's two, you're just going to choose? You don't need a raffle? You don't need to pick to choose which one. Over there also you need a raffle. So the Mishnah didn't say what type of a raffle. Is it a raffle between all the mishmaros, or is it a raffle between the two that didn't get a chance to bring it? So the meaning of the word when Rebbe says betchila mefaisen alav, what he is implying is that we don't look. In other words, what is the word betchila? What does it mean in the beginning? We make a raffle. Just say make a raffle. What the understanding is that betchila, this is like from the onset, we're starting off to make a raffle as if we don't look at what happened on Sukkah. We're starting off afresh. We're doing it new. Don't look at who got a chance, who didn't get a chance on Sukkah. No. Start betchila. We start new mefaisen olav. And the Rabbanan say no. You don't start new mefaisen olav. You give it to one of those two that didn't get a chance. You look at the fact that there were two groups that didn't get a chance to bring 3 bulls, and now you have a third bull to give one of them. Do it. Give it to one of those that didn't get a third chance. Now, which one do you do it? You got to make a raffle. So the conclusion of the Gemara is that our Mishnah could mean the Rabbanan also. It could mean that you make a raffle between 2, or it could mean you make a raffle between 24. If according to Rebbe, you're making a raffle for all 24 groups. According to the rabbis, you're making a raffle between 2 groups. But either way, you're making a raffle. Our Mishnah just says you make a raffle. So to say that it only fits with Rebbe is not necessarily so. Could be that it fits with the Rabbanan and the rabbis. You have to make a raffle to figure out which one of the two is going to get it. In this way, you'll only end up with one of the groups that missed out in getting a third bull over Sukkot. Now the Gemara says, "Kaman ozla hadatanya." Who does it go like this? That it was taught in a brisa. Kol hamishmaros shoynos u'mashalshos. All the mishmaros get to bring 2 and even a third. Chutz mishnei mishmaros shel shoynos ve'ein mashalshos. Except 2 mishmaros that they bring 2 bulls and they don't bring 3. Who does that follow? There's a brisa that says all the mishmaros get to bring 3, except 2 of them that they only get to bring 2. They are shoynos. They get to repeat it, but not mishalshos. They don't get to triple it. they only get to repeat it once, meaning they bring 2 bulls and not 3. 2 of the groups only get to bring twice, 2 bulls. The other groups get to bring 3. So who does that follow? Who does that brisa fit like? Name a Rebbe v'lei Rabbanan. This sounds like Rebbe and not the Rabbanan, not the rabbis. Why? Because according to the rabbis, one of the groups brings, one of those 2 gets to bring on Shmini Atzeres. So how many is left that doesn't bring a 3rd bull? Only 1, because the one of them, one of those groups that you said is going to miss out, it's not exactly they're missing out, because they're really bringing on Shmini Atzeres. They're getting that 1 bull. So therefore, it ends up that it's only 1 group that messes up. But the Brisa says 2 groups miss out in having 3 bulls. It must be that that's Rebbe. That must be Rebbe's Brisa, not the rabbis. The Gemara says no. Afilu tema Rabbanon. You could even say it's the rabbis. My loy shilshu. What does it mean that they don't get to bring? That there's 2 groups that don't get to bring 3. It means bipare hachag. It means the bulls of the holiday. It's not talking about Shmini Atzeres. That's a different holiday. That's not part of this. We're talking about the 70 bulls of Sukkot. Those bulls, a lot of them only got to bring, I mean, not a lot of them. 2 of them only got to bring twice. One of them does get to bring another bull, but that's not that's not part of the Parei Hachag. Now, what would the difference be? Umay komash balon. Why? What would it be coming to tell me that that all of them bring 3 and the 2 of them end up only bringing 2? What's it coming to let us here? Hakamash Malan, it comes and lets us hear that mi shehikriv parim hayoim lo yakriv lamacher, person that the group that brought a bull one day is not allowed to bring the next day ela chayzrin chalila. Rather, you go back and do it in an order where the ones that didn't bring yesterday get to bring today. You got to keep going back to where you ended off. And that's what it's really letting us hear, that all the mishmaros get to bring 2 and 3, except 2 of them that only bring 2. And if you would not follow this, then some mishmaros could maybe bring it all, the whole sukkah. So some mishmaros would bring it 5 times. And the fact that it's only 3 times means that they were very careful that whoever brought a par one day, whoever brought a bull one day was not able, that group was not able to bring it the next day. And that's what the Mishnah is telling us. And therefore, all the mishmaros, shyness and mishalshos, except 2 that are only shyness and not mishalshos. Now, initially, it seems that the Gemara understood that it's coming to teach us that we follow a Rebbe and not the Rabbanan. Then we would understand what it's saying, that the 2, we don't specifically make sure to give one of those 2 a part. We divide it, we make a raffle for everyone. And so many mishmaros bring 3, and there are 2 mishmaros that bring 2 because we're following Rebbe. And that's what the Gemara understood. And the Gemara's conclusion is no, it could fit with the rabbis. What it's coming to tell you is that they made sure not to let people be able to bring the sacrifices one day after another, and always, listen, I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm here, I'm ready, we want to also are going to bring every day. So therefore, the Brisa is coming and letting us hear, similar to what the Mishnah lets us hear, that when you bring one day, you don't get to bring the next day also. Yes, Jeffrey.
So this is just talking about the mishmaros. It doesn't tell us if you have 15 guys in the mishmar or 60 guys in the mishmar.
Right.
Okay.
Which is an interesting question, because, if you talk about how many people there might be, how much are they getting from this bull? You know what I mean? There might be a huge, it might be a huge population. Now, I don't know the population of the Kayanim. I just know that I like to get aliyahs in shul. And as a Levi, when there's too many Levium around, it gets me nervous. I means I'm getting my aliyah only once every who knows when. So the koyanim, I guess, is much less koyanim. I don't know. You probably feel that.
I think it seems like there are not many, but as a percentage of all Israel, it's still pretty high.
Right, right.
So some people say that those are the ones who could remember that, because those are the ones who were left in Judea. At the end, there were lots of Kohanim and lots of Leviim left in Judea, and in the Roman time, they could remember what family they were from, and the other ones, just a few from Binyamin that maybe they didn't remember. So that's why we have a bigger percentage. But it's all very hard. At our first son's bar mitzvah, I remember I calculated that it was 80 generations since the time of the Beis HaMikdash in Jerusalem, and so I said it's a long time that we've been passing on the kahuna. So it's hard to imagine it was all perfect. But okay, it's a lot.
Right. Yeah, it deserves to be understood. I mean, the only thing I could think of then is the fact that there must be a spiritual element, that your group is bringing the pars, even though you're not getting that much, but you're participating in bringing the par. That maybe means more.
None of this is being eaten either.
Not what?
None of it is being eaten either.
Right, it's not being eaten. Right.
So they divide it up. This one will bring it up halfway, and then
but when I said divide it up, I meant the skin. The skin is the skin is what they're getting. But how much skin? What do you do with a little piece of parchment? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it's.
I don't think they could really work it that way. But I think that they could have divided up who was bringing up the different parts of the bull to smoke them on the altar.
So again, that's an honor. That's a zchus. That's more about merits, about spiritual benefits, right?
Correct. So that we might have had to make a pious all the time for that.
But the interesting thing is that there's something unique about the bulls over the other animals. We didn't say this about the other animals, that you brought this today, you can't bring it tomorrow. No, the bulls. This was like specifically. It seems that it's specifically connected to the bulls. You know what I mean? It doesn't calculate how many, how many rams, how many times people brought the rams or whatever.
They ended up with the shofars. Yeah.
Okay.
It's very hard to. It's very complicated. This seems to make it simple.
Let me just do one. Yeah. Let me just do one more little piece. My time is just about up. I'm Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Elazar says, Hani Shivim Parim connected me. Who are the 70 bulls? Because if you add 13 bulls for the first day and 12 bulls for the second day and 11 bulls for the third day and so on until the seventh day, if you add it all up, it ends up to be 70. So who are they connected? What is it corresponding to? So the Gemara says connected Shivim Umais is connected. It corresponds to the 70 nations of the world that need water, and we bring a sort of a bull for to atone for each of these nations, that Hashem should bring water to all the nations. Par Yechidi, what is the one bull of Shmini Atzeres for? Lama, what's that for? Connected Uma Yechida, for the one nation, Klal Yisrael, the Jewish people. So all the bulls on Sukkot is about the Goyim, and the one bull on Shmini Atzeres is for the Yidden. What's this a parable of? Mashal Melech Basar V'Dam Shem Alav. This is a parable of a king of flesh and blood. He told his servants, Asuli Suda Gedayla, make for me a big meal. L'yom acharoin Amar, the final day of this party, he said Lo'ayavai to his friend. So he said to his servants, make me a big party. Fine. Then the final day, he said to his friend, Aseh li suda katana, make me a small meal. That I should benefit, I should benefit from your company and just me and you, so to speak. And that's the meaning of Shmini Atzeres, the last day after having 70 bulls and getting for the nations of the world. Hashem said, no, now it's just you and me, and that's why it's one bull on Shmini Atzeres. We're going to stop here. Zaygus on everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.